want to talk about, I got a long title tonight, since we are individually judged and rewarded. Since we are individually judged and rewarded. A bunch of implications from that. And I want to help you tonight. I think it will help you a lot. It dawned on me today, let me give you a big long thought process. Usually we don't struggle with something is because God has gifted you with something or some area, and that's not usually the area you're gonna be able to teach people very well in, because you don't know why you're good at it. Okay? If you didn't have to learn and struggle, you cannot teach people very well how to overcome something. Well, fortunately for me, in my Christian life, I got to struggle in almost everything. And so I can teach people most anything about how to overcome most anything because I get to struggle with everything. And that was a blessing God gave me. One of the things I've never struggled with, and I'm not saying I'm any better than this, you have things you didn't struggle with either, and you just don't know it. You just look down on people who don't do that as well as you because you wonder why they can't do it. God's gifted you, that's not your battle. Some of you would never battle violence, and I want to kill them. You never think that way, and you don't understand people think that way, but some of us do often when we're driving and things, we don't always know that. And so one of the things I've never struggled with is bitterness. Now that's really weird because most pastors struggle with bitterness. I wish I could say, I overcome it, because most things I have to battle and scratch and claw and overcome through the grace of God. But bitterness is something I don't struggle with. If you're nasty to me, I'll kill you. Don't worry about it. And but nobody's listening. I can just say whatever I want tonight, and this is gonna be a very fun sermon. And I've never known why I don't struggle with bitterness. And tonight I think I figured out why. One of the reasons I don't really struggle with bitterness, it's just not something that's a battle for me. I knock on wood. Now I'm going to struggle with it this week. Galatians 6 and verses 1 through 4. Let's see. It says, "Brethren, if any man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted." And there's a lot in that verse is fascinating about treat people when they're falling the way you want somebody to treat you when you fall. Verse 2, "Bear will ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. But let every man prove his own work. Then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden." Let's pray. Father, thank you for the word. Thank you. It shows us about this individual judging and individual rewarding, and I pray that we get it tonight, Lord. I think there's about 2 or 3 statements in here that can be life transforming. Lord, I pray tonight that you'd please help us to get the implications of this. First, we just need to understand the doctrine. But after that, Lord, we need to get the implications that it includes. That if this is what your word teaches, then there's a bunch of things that go along with it that matter, that'll impact us, that we've got to get right, and we've got to enact because of these doctrines. Lord, help us. Give me your words, fill me with the Holy Spirit, and use this in a great way, Lord, and speak to our hearts. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Look, it says we're supposed to lift those that fall, and it says, "Bear you one another's burdens." So this person has a burden, weep with those who weep, and we're supposed to help them, and we're supposed to lift them up and help them when they fall. We're supposed to bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ, and that's chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. But then the chapter switches to a bunch of things you're supposed to do that you have to bear yourself. And what do you think of yourself? Verse 3, "He thinks himself to be something, he is nothing, he deceiveth himself." And that's talking about people, generally people, the strangest thing is, people who are proud and like to brag about themselves are usually people without something to brag about, but they find something to brag about. Okay? But it says, prove your own work. Do something. Don't say what you are. Do something. And then you'll have rejoicing in yourself. What does that mean? And not in another. That means that if I go and I become something and do something, I can say, look what God used me to do. Look what I was able to build. Look what I was able to make. And I don't need someone else to praise me because I know I've done something. When you haven't done anything, you're insecure in yourself, so you have to have somebody else praise you. And you have to go fish for it. Okay? But when you are something, you don't need outside acknowledgement because you know you are something. And so verse 4, "Let every man prove his own work." You do something. "And then shall I rejoice in himself and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden." you bear your own burden. You must prove your own work. It goes on, continues, and it talks about how you yourself will be rewarded for what you do. Verse 7, be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. What you sow, you reap. Okay, that happens to you. You go out. I don't go out and get drunk for 40 years, and then say, I wonder who's going to get the liver problems. Okay, I hope it's my neighbor. That isn't the way it happens. You reap what you sow. Okay, if I go charge my credit card, that does not mean Josh is going to be broke next week. Okay, you bear your own burden. Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. You make bad decisions, you reap bad consequences. Okay, and verse 8, for he that soweth the flesh shall the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth the Spirit shall the Spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Therefore, if we have opportunity, let us do good to men, because we're going to reap for it. And so you see that you get rewarded according to what you do. You bear your own burden. You get the results of your own actions. The key to understand here is everyone is judged and rewarded individually. Now I'm going to take you all around, and I'll stick the New Testament just because of time. But then let's go back to 1 Corinthians and chapter 3. You're rewarded individually, and you are judged individually for your actions. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 8. Now he that planteth and he that watereth are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. Wouldn't it be nice if every soul that you won, I got credit for? Every soul that I won, you got credit for. If I gave $500 for the pastor's wife in St. Vincent, it'd be nice if you got a reward for it too. But every man gets reward for his own labor. If I go tonight and I sweep up a mess for the Lord, I get reward for that. Okay, that's biblical. That's the Bible principle. It's capitalism in the spiritual realm, and it's very, very consistent. He doesn't say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servants." Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Okay, now, there's a whole bunch of verses that show this. They're not unknown verses, and we're just going to show you these a little bit. Let's go to 2 Corinthians because it's nearby. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 10 and 11. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, that every one may receive the things done in his body according to what he hath done, whether it be good or bad. Okay, so everyone receives a reward according to what they do in their own body. Let's go back to Revelation 22. So an individual reward, an individual condemnation, individual judgment for your sin. You sow the wrong things, you reap the wrong things, all those things. Revelation chapter 22 and verse 12. And behold, I come quickly, and a reward is with me to give to every man according as his work shall be. Again, individualized. Back to Matthew chapter 16. I'm just showing a bunch of verses that just say it's individual rewarding, individual judgment for you personally. You write your own reward book in heaven, and you choose what you do. You sow, you reap. You plant corn, and that guy next to you plants potatoes. Guess what you grow? Corn. Guess what he grows? Potatoes. Okay, it's not that complicated, okay? And I'm not giving you anything that like you say, wow. But understand, you are judged individually, not corporately, okay? And that's going to be coming really important in a couple things I'm going to teach you tonight. But I just want to make sure we understand how biblical and how often God says this. Matthew 16 and verse 27, for the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then shall he record every man according to his works. Again, over and over. How about the terrible talents? One guy has 10, he's faithful with me, gets 10 more. Guy with 1 talent buries it, he loses his talent, and he gives to the one who had 10. Because every one of those guys, the guy with 10 and 5 and 1, were all judged according to what they had and what they did with what they had. Individual judgment, individual standing before God, appearing before the judgment seat of Christ. We'll get back to that. So there's a judgment seat. I read that about 2 Corinthians 5. It's also Romans 14. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ. We'll read another verse on that a little later. That every man receive the things which he had done in his body according to what he had done, whether it be good or bad. You appear before the judgment seat of Christ. The judgment seat of Christ is always individually. So, if all of a sudden, God forbid, a meteor hits this building tonight, we're all dead in heaven, Mexican food everywhere, and we're all dead, and you hope you're the only survivor. And there, where we are in heaven, you will not stand next to me and all of us say, "Okay, we're Open Door Baptist Church, and let me hear your words for what Open Door has done." No, you'll just be standing there with Jesus, and you'll give an account. The Bible says you give an account for every idle word. I mean, you just go through with Jesus and says, "Let's talk to you about this. You did this. You had this opportunity. You did this," and you're just standing there. In the end, I believe I can prove biblically that God brings your converts and that they are presented with you in heaven. I think that's biblical, and I can show that. But at the judgment seat, every man gives an account of himself to God. Lord, this is why I didn't do that. Lord, I'm sorry, I should have done that. And you individually do that. Okay, that's the biblical pattern. That's the way things work. So, easy doctrine. Everybody believes that. Lots of Bible. No problem there. That being so, let me give you a few thoughts on this that I think are something that we might think about. Number one, make sure you are right regardless of what others are doing. That's so important, okay? You got to make sure you're right, no matter what anybody else is doing, because you got to give account for what you do. And I'm gonna, because I've read so many verses, I'm not gonna get to all these verses. Luke 17:3 says, take heed to yourself, you'll do the right thing. Luke 21:34 says the same thing. 1 Timothy 4:16 says, take heed to thyself and the doctrine, for in so doing thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee. If you go, I've got it written down here in the book of Luke, chapter 6. Let's go there. So you've got to take care of what you're doing, no matter what others are doing, because you give an individual account. Luke chapter 7. Now watch, doesn't matter what somebody's doing to you, you got to do your part. I said Luke 7. Luke 6, verse 27. But I say unto you, love your enemies, do good to them that hate you, bless them which curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. And to him that smiteth thee on one cheek, offer the other also. And him that taketh away thy cloak, forbid not to take away thy cloak. Give to every man that asketh of thee, and give to him that taketh away thy goods, ask them not again. Okay? They're going to do this to you. And what do you, now God doesn't say, now let me, no process. God says, when they do this, here's what you do. Okay? God tells you what to do, not them. Okay, if he takes away your coat, give him a cloak also. And so that's that. Whatever they're doing the wrong, but they're doing the wrong thing. Yep, but you got to do the right thing. Amen. That's the key. You do the right thing if they're doing the wrong thing. Okay, that is what's very, very important. You take heed to yourself. Good illustration of this about the Bible is Joseph. Joseph's brothers threw him in a pit. What did he do? He just started working hard. What happens? He works hard, he goes up higher and higher, and he's mistreated by Potiphar's wife. And Potiphar. And he's thrown into jail. What does he do? He works hard and does what he's supposed to do. What does he do? Raises up. And then he's mistreated by the baker and the butler. What does he do? Works hard. See, Joseph always did right, though everyone around him kept doing him wrong. Because Joseph can't control the baker and the butler and Potiphar's wife. But Joseph can control Joseph. And so Joseph's job was to do his best with where he was put. If Joseph would have made a mistake, somebody will make him start focusing on, that stinking lady ruined my life. It had been done. It had been done. Whenever you focus on the person who's wronged you, you're not looking at what you need to do. And so you just say, you know what? This is where I am because this messed up thing, you know what? But I need to do this. Not, what about them? They're God's deal. Ready? They're going to give an account to God. And you're going to give an account to God. And so what you need to do is do your part. Joseph kept doing it. And he kept doing the right thing. Now, ready? This is super, super important to state. Ready? We focus on whose fault it is. God focuses on how do they react. Human nature is so consistent in that. Any situation, it's a weird thing. In marriage counseling, the first thing that's going to happen is both of them are going to try to prove whose fault it is. And that's really not my interest. I just want to find a solution. But whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Whose fault? It's their fault. It's their fault. Okay, if it's their fault, what do you need to do? No, it's their fault. You understand it's their fault. They're the one who are wrong. Okay, now what do you need to do? Well, they're wrong. Well, okay, let's pretend like they're 1,000% wrong. They're not 100% wrong. They're 1,000% wrong. Now, here's what you need to do. But they're 1,000,000% wrong. Okay, they're 10,000,000% wrong. Now, what do you need to do? Because you individually stand before God. And you're going to account for what you've been handed. Now, let me illustrate this. Okay, so I need things here. These are God's books of your actions. He's going to take a record in these books. These are riveting. Dictionary of Evangelical Biography, 1730 to 1860. You couldn't put this down if you picked it up. And so here's these. Here's God's record book. He's gonna write down. He's writing down all you're doing. Okay. Now, let me go this way. Okay. So. All right. Let's see. All right, Josh, come on up here. Robbie, come on up here. Okay. All right. So I've got these two guys here, and here Josh has a Coke. Robbie has a Dr. Pepper. And I didn't say Robbie yet. And so
root beer.
I'm sitting there. Root beer, sorry. And so I'm sitting here talking to Josh, and here's Josh. We're talking, and Robbie comes over, and guess what he grabs? He grabs the Coke. And all of a sudden, Josh turns around and looks, his Coke is gone. Now, guess what? I'm God. You ready? I write this down. Robbie stole Josh's Coke. Like Josh. Okay, got a record of it. Now, I'm watching Josh. What's Josh going to do? What does Josh do? Robbie looks that way. Now, you go steal his root beer. Okay. Now, I write down, Josh stole Robbie's root beer. Now, he has to get help with that. I did write down, since Robbie stole, I didn't write that down. Okay? Now, when he dies, I say, why'd you steal his root beer? When he dies, I say, why'd you steal his Coke? Because he gives an account, and he gives an account. Now, put those things back. That's the way God keeps records. Individually. So, restart again. I'm talking to Josh, and we're talking. Robbie comes over here, steals the Coke. And Josh and I talking and all that stuff. And Josh turns around, and he sees his Coke is gone. And I write down, Robbie stole Josh's Coke. I'll talk to him about that someday. And I write that down. Now, watch Josh. Now, what does Josh do? Josh begins to pray for Robbie. Anybody who's so desperate they'd steal your Coke, you pray for him. And then you take some money in your pocket and realize he's poor, he needs help. And you give him some money. You try. And that's all I'm going to say. And I say, Josh prays for Robbie after he stole his Coke. And Josh gives Robbie some money. Wow, we reward him for that. See, that's how God works. What we think is God said, whose fault? Whose fault? Who did more wrong? Oh, his pup was smaller. And that is not a just thing. No, that's not what God does. God says, you were dealt with, you stole that thing for no reason. You're guilty. You got your pop stolen, let me see how you reacted to that. And his situation is a little different than his situation. And if he can pray for him once his pop, and I know how much he loved his Coke. So I'm saying, wow, that was impressive. I'm going to give him great reward for that. Do you see that? What we're sitting there saying is, whose fault is it? He did more wrong than he did. He's wrong. He's wrong. God's saying, you got dealt this deal, and you got dealt this deal. You did this. You're going to give account for that. You're going to get a reward for that, or you're going to give account for that. God is individually recording your deeds. So when someone wrongs you, what you think is going to happen is you're going to prove to God that they were the one who were wrong. God's saying, I know you're wrong. Let's just see if you can get some reward out of this. Or are you going to get judged because you went and did wrong back, returned evil for evil? Do you see how there's an individual judgment? Okay, you can bring my pops back. And no, you can keep your pop. You want pops? You want pop? How'd you have a? You didn't get. Okay, there you go. All right. You like root beer? Okay, well, you got it. You like Coke? All right, Robbie's so. And all right. And so, I want you to understand, if that be true, you quit looking at your brother or your sister or the person who wronged you all the time and say, look, they did me wrong. Lord, they did wrong, but I'm going to react like this because I don't want to get judged. I want to get rewarded. Make sure you are right regardless of what others are doing. Joseph, they wronged you. You can dwell on your brothers. You can dwell on Potiphar's wife. You can dwell on the baker. You can dwell on the butler. You can dwell on all these different people. Or you can just go and start working hard and let God say, he just keeps on doing the right thing. And rewarded him. And guess what? He was fine. Because he took care of what he had to take care of instead of playing the blame game and doing that thing over and over. I said I finally figured out maybe one of the reasons I don't struggle with bitterness. You know why? Because I'm just too pragmatic, and when I'm wronged, I just look, what do I got to do? I don't look back very much. I don't have time to look back and say, people wrong you sometimes. I just got to do the right thing. Or I can become a victim and say, look what they did, they ruined my life. Nobody can ruin your life. I'll get to that in a second here. They can hurt you and impact you and all those things, but ultimately you can do the right thing and be rewarded by God, because whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. Number one, make sure you are right regardless of what others are doing. Number two, though others might help, hurt, or influence you, you can still do the right thing. Number Luke 6, they smite you on one cheek, give them your other also. But they shouldn't have smote you. No. But you know what you can do? You can impress God. They might hurt you. It might hurt when they take your cloak, but you do the right thing. Jesus was completely mistreated. That had nothing to do with how he treated them. He treated them with love and forgiveness, though they were crucifying him. Father, forgive them. Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. Why? Because Jesus knew he had to do the right thing, though people were doing the wrong thing to him. You follow? So you don't have to sit here and say, I have to do wrong because they did wrong, or they are more wrong, or who's the one who's blamed. That's not your job. Your job is very important. People can hurt you. People can wound you. People can mess things up. Look, if parents do the wrong thing, the kids end up hurt. We understand that. Look, I ended up hurt, messed up because parents doing the wrong thing, okay? That's how I started my life. I was a wounded person, but I got saved. And I got a Father in heaven. And I started serving the Lord. And God started healing me. And I just spent my life serving God. And I didn't sit here and get bitter and messed up and everything else. And I remember, and you know what? I never felt any bitterness toward my mom. I sent her a nice gift yesterday. And yes, I know it was yesterday. It was late. And she got it today. And I sent her that. And I don't have bitterness toward my dad. Don't think he's alive anymore. Never had bitterness toward him once I started serving God. Why? Because I was too busy serving God. I decided I need to go find my dad and witness to him, make sure he's saved. So I went and searched for him. Couldn't find him. But we went and searced for him, and we think he was just homeless a lot and a drinker and passed away. We think, but, I didn't have any bitterness toward him. I remember I talked about that one time, how we went and searched for him and tried to find him and went to Christ, and that had any bitterness. And someone in the church who had some issues with bitterness and stuff like that, they said, Pastor, you didn't really want to find him, did you? I said, yes. But I know you're searching, but did you really want to find him? You know how simple I am. Yes. But don't you really have resentment in your heart? Isn't there something deep down that you hoped you didn't find him? Did you really have bitterness and anger? You've been talking to a psychiatrist lately? Because you sound like a person who's been talking to a psychiatrist. Because it's not that there's really something deeper. No, I don't have any bitterness. The guy needs to be saved. And you know what? He probably doesn't know his grandkids. And you know what? The devil got him with alcohol. Look, but with the grace of God, I'd have been in the same place. I'm no better than him, so I'm just going to try to restore him. Okay? You don't live that way thinking. People can hurt you and mess you up, and you might have some wounds in the future because of that, but understand, they can't destroy you, Joseph. Yeah, you'll sit there and say, man, my brothers. my own brothers were going to kill me, and then he sold me into slavery in a far country and he'd beaten. Or he could have said, all right, Potiphar, what are we doing today? Lord, you gave me this job. I'm going to do my best for you. That was his choice. What did he do? He worked hard. And the devil couldn't keep him down, though his brothers did hurt him. Didn't see his dad. He got sold into slavery. All those things are fun, okay? But he kept doing the right thing, and you can't. A bad person can't stop the blessings of God from flowing to you.
Okay.
If you do the right thing, okay? So you understand that. Though they might hurt you or help you or people influence you, all those things are true, but they cannot destroy you. Let's go to Romans 14. So we just go ahead and do the right thing because we're individually judged. And so many people are shocked when they're mistreated. But this wasn't fair. Listen, folks. You're in a sin-cursed world. Things aren't fair. But they're wrong. Yeah. You'll be wrong one time too. Relax. People are going to mistreat you. You can't let that dwell in you. Oh, I can't believe it. I didn't do anything wrong and they did this to me. They crucified Jesus. Okay. They mistreated Joseph and they mistreated Moses. And it's humanity. Don't dwell on your mistreatments and don't be shocked as though some strange thing happened to you. You dwell on earth. The earth has fallen people. And don't be so shocked and just figure out what you've got to do. How can you love them and pray for them and give them your cloak also and react to your part right? Where are we at? Romans 14. And let's go look at verse 8. For whether we live unto the Lord, or whether we die unto the Lord. Whether therefore we live or we die, we are the Lord's. Amen. For to this end Christ both died and rose and revived, that he might be the Lord, both of the dead and the living. Why dost thou judge thy brother? Why dost thou sit at naught of thy brother? For we will all stand before the judgment seat of Christ. As it is written, as I live, saith the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to God. So then every one of us shall give an account of himself to God. So, look, just do the right thing. They might hurt, influence you, judge you. Oh well, you got to serve God. Don't let them mess you up and take your reward. Colossians chapter 2. Here's the thing. Once you let them ruin you, you let them make you bitter, you let them make you start seeking revenge. Because remember, you got Christ, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, Colossians 2. Now, in this book over here, where God could have written your reward, because you let them take that reward away from you, because you let them, by the way, you could have overcome. Now, God says, God's going to write a reward there, but that person made you lose it because they conquered you and made you bitter. Colossians chapter 2. And people can take your reward. And what a sad thing about this. Don't let anybody do that. Verse 18. Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worship of angels, and true to those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up in his fleshly mind. Revelation. Humans can make it so you lose your reward because you allow them. It says, let no man take thy reward. It's going to say this twice. We already read that once. Revelation 3. Don't let anybody take your reward away from you. You let them take it from you because you could have gotten a reward. Revelation chapter 3. Verse 10 and 11, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly, behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Don't lose it. So, someone comes and does me wrong, some situation makes it harder for me to do right, I can still do the right thing. But if they did this, I can't believe they did that. Oh, I'm going to get them back. Oh, and I am no longer focusing on doing the right thing. Guess what? They reached in and took my reward that God would have given to me. Because God's judging me individually and them individually. If I do the right thing, that's my next point. If I do the right thing and they do the wrong thing, you say, but they're doing wrong and I'm doing right, also doing is doing wrong. Guess what? God is writing it down. And they will be judged. And you will be judged. You'll be rewarded. They will be judged. So you got to do the right thing. Guess what happens if they do wrong and you do wrong? You both get judged. That didn't help. Guess what happens if they do wrong and you do right? God says, now vengeance is mine. I'll judge them. And so you gotta keep doing the right thing. Next, 3, realize that the Lord makes everything come to light. Let's see, we're in Revelation. Let's go to we're going to be back here in Revelation 3 in a moment, but I want to read that in a minute here. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 4:5. Keep your finger in Revelation 3 there. Here's a great thing. Everything comes to light. Everything gets revealed. Well, they got away with it. They hired a better lawyer. They went and they hid it and they snuck it, and then he put it in his coat and nobody saw it. The police never filed a report. They stole my car and never got it back. All these things that happened to you, and you're sitting there going, oh man, they got away with it. It's not fair. Nobody gets away with anything. Ever. God says He's going to account for every idle word. God's book is thorough. But it just not be on your timetable. But 1 Corinthians 4:5, too many verses here. Therefore, judge nothing before the time, until the Lord come, who will bring to light the hidden things of darkness, and will make manifest the counsels of the hearts, and then shall every man have praise of God. God says, lights are on. This is what really happened. Remember our church van got stolen? Oh, what a nightmare that was. Oh, yeah. It's still our church van. I think, oh, this is going to be easy. It says Open Door Baptist Church in big blue red letters on 3 sides of it. Boy, this will be easy. It wasn't easy. And then they took a license plate and put it on another van. Then they ran through a red light with a camera and got us a ticket. And then they took that same van with our license plate on it when they robbed a house. And the detectives called me about how I were robbing the house. And they continued on and all these things. And then they parked my car somewhere, the van, with the window partway rolled down in the winter in Seattle. And we had a van full of mold. You ever try to get mold out of a van that's covered in mold? It doesn't go away easily. That van stunk for months. And then the police didn't call me when they towed the van into the tow place. You know how much they charge per day when they tow a vehicle of yours? And then we get a call about 6 days after it's been towed, and they say, hey, by the way, your van's here, and it was for 6 days of storage. Then I got that moldy van out. That same van we drove into church tonight. Do you know the people who did all that never got caught? But actually they did get caught. Just the law didn't catch them. But they got caught. God was watching. I can be, I'm going to kill these people. No, that ruins me. And I do, I pray for them. I say, Lord, what would make them still a church man? Lord, save them. They need you. If they had you, they wouldn't be doing this. Poor people. They probably grew up in a crime family. They probably grew up in hard circumstances. Maybe they're addicts. They need you, Lord. Save them. That'll give me some rewards. Or I can dwell on them. But guess what? I don't have time to dwell on them. And you know what? They need Jesus. And I don't want to ruin me. Remember, bitterness is the only poison that you drink yourself and think is going to harm somebody else. And so I'm not going to let it ruin me. So, and God will deal with it all. God's going to bring it to light. One day God will say, this is the guy right here. And the guy's going to look up and say, uh-oh. I'm going to say, I'm an angel now and you're dead. And, but joking. What are you guys just... And guess what? God will bring it to light. God will judge them. Guess what's probably going to happen? You know what's going to happen? Since they get caught for stealing a church van, they're going to get convicted for something they didn't really do. And not believe it. They were really just that time riding along with their friends who had the drugs with them. And now they're spending, because God makes sure everything equals out. And in eternity, it's all equaled out. You should see the vehicle I'm going to drive in heaven for that thing. In a big mess. And so God equals it all out. He brings everything to light. Matthew 10. Matthew 10. Matthew 10 and verse 26. It says, fear not them there, fear them not therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. God reveals everything. Now back to Revelation 3, and then I'm going to show you this is beautiful. Revelation 3. If you do the right thing, and they've done the wrong thing, watch how God reveals everything. Revelation 3, verses 9 through 11. Again, if you don't have to turn to all these, you can listen. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. There is persecution coming on from fake believers, and they were persecuting these Christians. Says, look, in eternity, I know right now they're going to go and they're hurting you, and they're wounding you, and they're putting you in jail, and they're doing whatever they're doing. One day, I'm going to make them come down, bow down before your feet, and I'll make them to know that I loved you. They were wrong, and you were right. I will bring it to light. Wow, that's pretty powerful. How many people know some people they want to come and God to say, they were right, and you were wrong. I love them. How many have somebody like that? You can't wait till they get to see that truth of that. And look, and everybody else will know it too, because everything is made manifest, it says. Oh, I thought, you say, but everybody thinks I was the wrong one. It will all come out. It all comes out. And continue on. Verse 10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all them in the world, to try them which dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly, and hold thou fast that which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Everything we just said is right there. Everything's revealed. You do the right thing. God's going to reward you. He's going to come and fix and take care of you. And you'll do that. Now, other super important statements that I want to say. Really, really important here. You and everyone individually involved will give an account personally to God. You give an account for the things we had done in this body, whether it be good or bad. So God kept the record. And he wrote down, did wrong, did wrong. Did wrong, did right, return the blessing. Asked forgiveness and got it right. Didn't forgive. Every little thing. So God's not going what we think. This is what we always think. Who was right? Who got caught? Who does everybody know is right or wrong? Whose fault was it? God says, it was their fault. Now, how are you going to handle that? So isn't it awesome to judge individually? Because you can always do the right thing. Amen. And you don't have to dwell on them because God is keeping score. And though someone else does you wrong, and they might get away with it, and they might have gone and wronged you, you can just do the right thing like Joseph. And God says, I got to reward him, angels. Man, make him the head of the prison. Got to reward him. You know what? He's going to be second in the kingdom. You know what? His brothers are going to come bow before him. Yep. His brothers are going to bow before him. Why? His brothers did him wrong, but God was keeping score. And so Joseph, just keep doing right. And so we are judged individually. And if we're judged individually, you don't have to think, this isn't fair all the time. You just say, you know what? I've got to take care of and do right for what I've got to do. I've been wronged, and now I've got to bless those who persecute me. Do you see the truth of that? See how nice that is that you're judged individually? And you don't have to get bitter? Because God's going to take care of it. God's going to take care of it. If you do right, unless they steal your crown and steal your rewards because you let them ruin you. And so, also, what happens there? People can't put you on guilt trips. Look, we ask for help all the time, and we don't help everybody, we help some people. And don't jump in a guilt trip. You won't feed me. You won't pay for my hotel tonight. Why don't you give me some money? God knows the whole truth. Look, because I saw you doing heroin last week behind your building. That's why. Because I said, you know what, come to church tonight, we'll see if we can help you. And you wouldn't so much come to church. And just to see if you make an effort. But if they put you in a guilt trip, don't you make you feel guilty, Pastor? Look, I've been helping people for so long, and we've been dealing with people for so long. They don't make you feel guilty anymore. We help enough people, I'm not worried about it. But we know who to help and who not to help. And we know if they won't make an effort, if men won't work, you shouldn't eat. You don't want to try? You know? And I might ask them, you don't have any money for food? Why are you smoking? Pastor, don't they make you feel guilty when they say, shouldn't judge me? God knows the truth. I'd love to help them. God knows we'll help them. God knows we do help them. You know what? They got issues besides just getting food that night. Don't you feel guilty when and people try? Bad people put guilt trips on you. Understand that about life? Mm-hmm. Bad people put guilt trips on you. Amen. Good people get it done anyway. Good people understand you're not obligated to help them. Okay? So when you know God knows the truth that you can't help them, you really can't right now. Or you know what? You really think that you've helped them enough already. Or whatever the case is, they lay that guilt trip on you and you say, you know what? God knows the truth about this. I can't do this right now. But you must hate me! No, I don't hate you. But aren't they going to think that? It'll all come out. Isn't it good we're judged individually? Yes. And that we'll all stand before God individually? And that you have an opportunity to become the most amazing Christian no matter what somebody's done to you because you are now being recorded for what you're doing with a harder circumstance. God writes it down. And so we're judged individually. Since we're individually judged and rewarded, number one, make sure you're right regardless of what others are doing. Number two, though others might help, hurt, or influence you, you can still do the right thing. I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. You can be like Jesus or Daniel or Joseph or David with Saul. Next, realize the Lord makes everything come to light. And everything will be revealed someday. And so you can say, you know what? Everybody thinks I'm wrong right now, but I'm going to keep doing the right thing because God's going to reveal it. And for eternity, it'll all be made clear. Amen?